Okay, so I just tried to do a live stream on this incident that happened earlier today. I'm not going to repeat all of that again. I'm tired. Um, to give you an abridged version, I met a woman early last month who indicated both interest in my personality slash appearance. This doesn't happen often. I became convinced that she was interested in me as she claimed. She agreed to a couple of things, um, then said she wasn't going to do it, then agreed again, then said she wasn't going to do it, then said she was considering it, then said she wasn't going to do it. I wish I was kidding. Now, this person, besides the wishy-washy behavior, is another user on here commented during the live stream of the past that no one will ever see now. Um, was very, very intelligent. She had many personality traits I liked. I was obviously physically attracted to her as well. A 10 out of 10 by all accounts in my mind, as crazy as that is to suggest. But there came the inevitable set of rationales as to why it couldn't work. Um, it was followed by her swearing off that we would ever speak again. That, the usual nonsense. And this harkens back to a couple of months ago when I had a woman with whom I also had interest in tell me that if you wanted to be successful with the opposite sex, you must know for sure that they're interested in you. Which, I mean, I'll be waiting all year if that's the case. So I want it to be known that this was not my mind playing tricks on me as the other one alleged. This one outright said how she felt, her interest, the works. And after being turned down by her, a person who indicated interest, who said she wanted to do certain things together, who spoke about the future, who talked about all of the jazz that is related to, dating. I am pretty convinced that it's the only difference between her and any of the other ones is just a change in rhetoric. You still get the same result, and I'm in a way dumbfounded by it because I'm not used to getting seemingly that far in terms of sealing the deal and the person just pulling it from under you. I equated it to when that old classic cartoon of Charlie Brown trying to kick the football and what's her name pulls it from under him and he falls. That's what I would consider this. Even if the other ones were just arriving on the field and the ball being just taken off of there, this was the equivalent of that. Now, I was bothered by this for more than just, oh, a person turned me down. It was also that I felt with this person, I'd met someone I agreed with the majority of things on, that I was willing to work to be with, that seemingly held interest as well. And they'll swear it up and down. Oh, yes, I do. But then still give you, if they were to give me, if she rather were to give me a million reasons as to why we couldn't work, she'd make sure it was nine. I'd have 999 reasons as to why we could work. It always was one more thing as to why it couldn't work that she continued to press toward and say was the rationale for how this couldn't function. And a big part of my irritation at this point is there will be the same four reactions here. I like the first one, which is the sympathy or otherwise people agreeing with you. I mean, we all like, having someone pat us on the back. And I think this is something a lot of others have experienced. The second one will be that fridge group that says I'm supposedly uh, not straight, but then you'd have to ask yourself, why would he be upset about being turned down? I don't think this is fiction or something. Then there's another group who will, give their various rationales as to why this happened and their, claims and advice. Others will leave some miscellaneous comment about my appearance. It's all been said before. Um, I thought I was gonna come up and do an eloquent address and uh, speak of how I was so bothered by, and I am bothered by it. And I'm not. People always make the belief that you get mad, and that's what causes people to act out when it comes to romance. And indeed, I have felt frustration in the past, but when a person that you feel an intense amount of liking toward lets you down, the anger subsides and you're left with this disappointment. I don't feel regret. I gave it all I had. I, tried to appeal to her in every way that I could. Um, but, she gave a rationale as to why it couldn't work. And apparently that's the way we're going to live as a society. We're not going to get bold change. We're not going to experience things that we haven't done before. She admitted this was new for her. It will become a game of, okay, this can't work because of that. This can't work because of this. We're apparently so caught up in this idea that we have this unlimited amount of time to just play around. And when I want something, I go out and get it. I try for it. That's why I've approached as many females in the past. It's not about, oh, he's trying to rush everything. It's about getting what you are interested in and working toward it. So that's my stance on this. And what also is kind of bothersome is that, again, that group thing where they'll say, oh, the right person will come along, the right person will magically appear from the clouds and descend, and there'll be this, that, and the other, and you'll just have to compromise on one or two things. This person had things I didn't like about her, but I was willing to that dream, the fiction. And I don't deal in fiction. I deal with what was there, and what was there was someone that I felt an intense liking toward, that I wanted to see myself with, that said she wanted the same thing. And I was either, and then became upset with me when I took the stance of, okay, was this just lies? But understand my mind frame. If I'm fed by you lip service that you are interested in me, and then it doesn't end up happening because of all of your other rationales afterward, what else am I supposed to believe? That you felt this way and just wanted to chicken out at the last minute because you're too scared of actually doing anything together? And there's always this claim that if you are a male and you feel a sense of bothering by not being able to get in relationships, there's something wrong about you. Well, if there's something wrong about me, there's something wrong with a lot of people. We have a mass shooting in the U.S. every day, and because that's another thing I like to say. Oh, well, you're secretly, this is how crazy you are. But think about it. If every one of those was by a guy that is getting turned down, doesn't that tell you something about the way society is structured? I'm not saying the guys are right for doing any of that. I disagree with retaliating with violence when it comes to any of this stuff. Because when you're seeking romantic acceptance by another person, you want to be loved, not hated, and you're going to be hated for acting out in that way. It's not going to get you any closer toward your intended goal. But if the argument is that if you're turned down, you're secretly some kind of shooter, then wouldn't we need to revamp society to where if a guy gets turned down, he's not seen as potentially being gay or having something wrong with his mind? Or, I agree, romantic desires are very important to people. Yeah. And, when a guy only sees himself with one person, another person, it destroys them. I feel, to an extent, destroyed by her saying no. Not because I don't think anyone else will ever say yes again, but because that was someone that I truly felt had the best, or was offering the best of anyone who was going to say yes. That's why it's such a slap in the face to have that person then do a 360 and talk about, it can't work because of this, it can't work because of that, it can't work, it can't work. One other thing I'd like to throw out here in terms of our approach to, because I've been noticing this a lot more recently. There is a fridge group that, and I also want, if you're watching this, or just if you've been accused of this of well, earlier today, about an hour before me and her spoke, I got a comment on this video about, oh, well, you're secretly homosexual. And that is the biggest detriment to why society is as screwed up as it is today. We live in America. I don't know about where other people are located. I live in America that wants to accept LGBT people and those who have different orientations. Yet, you're immediately met with the negative connotation of being seen as homosexual if you are not successful with romance. And it extends to people who are famous. Look at the senator from New Jersey, Booker. He's in his 40s and single, and he has had, over the course of his career, people say that he was homosexual. And, that's someone that I'm not a fan of in terms of their politics, but I'll defend, the right to not go after him in terms of your perceptions of his sexuality, because that shouldn't matter to people. And as long as we haven't seen him do anything that was outright confirming of that, I don't understand the more to a person than who they're with. Yeah, it's more to a person than who they're with. But tell that to others. Tell that to those who are looking in. People who have no idea how you live on a daily basis, are not aware of any of the factors in your life, what's led you there. They're going to assume these things about you and just write you off as whatever their mind tells them to. And it's disturbing. We can't function as a society if we're going to be built around speculation. And really, what people have to understand is the way to completely destroy another person is to take a little bit of truth. So, for example, it is true that I have struggled with acquiring a relationship. I'm apparently the first guy that's had that happen to them. Someone, who's convinced himself that, or is trying to allege me as being homosexual, see, he really couldn't do it because of he's actually wanting guys. Yeah. But these are the people that are believed. These are the people that we listen to. These are the people who get to post any kind of nonsense in my comment section, in the comment section of someone else's videos, anywhere else. And if you express any outrage about it, the trolls have won. They've conquered. Yes, they've become victorious. But if you ignore it, they speculate, yes, he's ignored because I've caught on. It's the truth. Part of the reason I don't respond to it in terms of comments, I don't write back to them, is because I know I won't change their mind. I know I won't make them feel any differently about me. I could have a video of me making out with a woman right now and they would say that was scripted acting. They'll come up with their own rationales and reasons and whatnot. But they'll never think to themselves that people are the way they are because of what they've experienced. 3 years ago, I wasn't convinced that, it was going to be very difficult to acquire, a relationship or someone to date. But look at all the things that have happened since. I just had one who told me that this is the second time this year where a woman with whom I was courting or otherwise interested in becoming romantically involved in told me she was romantically interested back. I have screenshots. I have messages. I am so sick and tired of going on here and having some person who's never met me, never spent a day around me, allege I am this way or the other because they saw an 18-minute clip where I'm dismantling arguments as to why I'm supposedly one way or the other. And, they always make this claim of, well, you didn't get the person because you're waiting for the perfect person. No, I'm not waiting for the perfect person. This person wasn't perfect. They had things about them I didn't like their wishy-washy behavior. But I still forgave it. I still was willing to look past it because I recognized that in any relationship, platonic or romantic, you have to accept certain things about the other person. And, them changing their mind about a couple of things didn't seem to be that big of a deal to me because the one thing they didn't seem to change their mind about was that they wanted or otherwise were romantically interested in me. And believe me, they changed their mind about many things. They've subscribed and unsubscribed from my account many times. I get a little email every time they do it. I'm probably going to get another one tonight. I am completely taken aback in terms of, what am I supposed to take away from this? Oh, keep marching forward, keep believing, keep buying the myth that the ideal woman will come around. I was like, she did come around, and she said no. See, this isn't about me thinking everyone around me is not good. I wouldn't have approached over 30 different women if that were the case. This is about the other person not reciprocating, and that's truly what is the most gnawing in terms of how other people perceive me when it comes to relationships. I can't make the other person like me. This person seemingly liked me. We wouldn't have spoken to each other for hours on the phone every day if that weren't the case. And you still get turned down. You still get told you're not good enough. They still make an excuse as to why this can't happen. And notice, I'm not calling her any names. I'm not saying that she's this, that, or the other, at least in terms of, using the regular profanity laced insults, because that won't get me anywhere. That's not going to change anything about this. I've seen men who've, called women this, that, and the other and been successful. I've seen some who haven't and were successful. I would rather have a woman flat out reject me than lead me on. Well, her allegation was that she changed her mind later on, or still was romantically attracted but couldn't do it because of X, Y, and Z. And I told her that's not good enough. That doesn't make it better. That doesn't make any of this not more frustrating than it already is. You know how to make it better. Change your mind. You changed it all the other times. I don't get it. I'm dumbfounded. I like to believe that I have some basic level of intellect. I feel as if I am on the mental capacity of a piece of fruit. These things do not make sense. I know people will say, "Oh well, relationships are complicated. People are complicated." I get that complexities. I understand it. I have my own various ways of going about doing things that someone else might roll their might turn their head to and be scratch their cranium and be confused toward. But I'm not going around with some strict quota as to who can fulfill my wishes and fantasies and desires, because I've met many women who've done that, and I've met a couple who have said I fulfill theirs, and you still get this result to this year that said outright, "I would want to date you." And then what is so bothersome is that there's no way of winning either way with this. Think about it. I can't make them change their mind about, turning me down. I can't make the males or females or whatever gender is saying that I'm homosexual change their perception of me. I can't make that fridge group that supposedly thinks I, a person who's never indicated I would do so, is now planning some terroristic plot because he got turned down by a couple of women. Never mind that he wants to actually accomplish goals. We're just going to pretend that doesn't exist to fulfill our own narrative. I can't make them change their opinions either. They're going to keep writing that nonsense, for many, many years. They're going to still be watching this video in 2090 when I'm long gone and still say, "Oh yeah, he was planning on doing this. He just never got around to it." They have their rationales and their reasons for thinking any fridge theory that can be spinned out of somebody's cranium and otherwise implemented into words. Forget the trolls. Well, it's not about who's trolling, because for all I know, someone that genuinely believes that. It's bothersome to me that we can't just let a person live. If you don't like what I have to say, then don't watch it. Just go away. Yeah, well, that talent I supposedly had didn't matter to them. And this one was privy to it, allegedly, and, made the claim of, "Oh yes, I shall reciprocate how you feel. I shall be interested in you." And it goes up like the Challenger and crashes just like that plane did 31 years ago. And that's not meant to be some joke toward that. It's meant to indicate that's how I feel. It's the equivalent of lifting off into the sky, this really optimistic, iconic, symbolic looking view of this jet going up. Yes, you can do it. Yes, we can achieve anything. And then it just combusts in the flames, and you go down in the same ditch that you were in to begin with. Yeah, it's more than heartbreak, and it's really it's a combination of things. It's more. There's a phrase I've been using. So, as I said before, there was another female that I approached over the summer who said that she had never been interested in me, and promptly turned me down. This one said she was interested in me but turned me down. It's change on the outside, continuity on the inside. The change on the outside is the rhetoric. This one says she likes you. This one says she doesn't like you. But both of the ones that say whatever are going to do the exact same thing of turning you down when it actually comes time to try and form some meaningful communication. And that's really what I'm taking away. I don't doubt that there's true love in the world. I don't doubt that there are people who make the other person happy. I just don't think on a root level that I will ever um, be that for someone beyond a platonic communication. I know I'm that for people platonically because I have several individuals who would regard me as their friend, including my best friend, whom I've somehow managed to sustain for the last uh, 12, 13 years. So I'm very much convinced I can do it in a way where the person does not have to look at me as, some romantic partner or, some significant other, if you will. But as far as, oh yes, you can be someone's partner and you can be with them through the tough and the good times and go on date, that's over. I am not of that belief now. It's been kind of dwindling as time has passed because I don't see it. There's not enough evidence to support it. I'm instead given the narrative of you're only okay to a certain extent, which is platonically. But once you cross that line, that doesn't, you don't stick, you don't suffice. You don't meet the million and one reasons as to why a person will say no. And I understand there are very large differences that people can have. Some are with someone, some are not. Some just don't want to do it. Some, and then the one who did this thing today will say, "Oh, I didn't want to do it, and that's why I did it. I have nothing against you personally." Yeah, I believe that. This person went on at rationales about, "Oh, you live, the distance is too far," and it's like, yeah, you're just going to do it with someone who is closer and fits more into your perception on what you should have instead of what you could get out of someone who's already said they're into you. Because she knows that once I'm dumped and gotten rid of and thrown away and disregarded, there's going to be some guy that'll just pick her up like that. Happens every time. The same thing with the one who was upset about me speaking about her without mentioning her name. She knows that, as she indicated to me, the guy that she was hoping for that was in some other country will come back, say, "Hey, what's up?" and they'll get together. And I'll be disregarded in that same manner. No, it has to do with options. It has to do with the various people that are around. Why would you go with Dr. Pepper when you can have Coke or Sprite or Pepsi or what was it, Cactus Cooler Cactus, something along those lines, Fanta, all the other, all those options. Why would you go to McDonald's? You can have Burger King or Wendy's or Sizzler or Jack in the Box, or as some people I know call it Jack in the Crack, but that's neither here nor there. It all has to do with, if you're from my perspective of, there's these one or two people that might say yes, might, not confirm, not, "Oh yes, we definitely will do this." You're going to take them more seriously. You're going to be more worried about trying to make sure they do not say no, because for all you know, you might not get this for another year, 2 years, 8 months, 6 months, 3 months. And look at another, 100 days have passed. Then you go and approach someone else, another 100 days have passed. You spend all your lifetime trying to appeal to people who don't care about you. And if they say, "Oh, just be their friend." If you become their friend and they get with these guys, you know what the first thing they're gonna do when they get serious with the guy? Bye-bye. They're not even gonna say bye. They will. So I've seen some of them do this. I knew a woman last year that after her guy came back, got rid of me.